Hello, good morning. I am Lorenzo Busatti, and I have my presentation about NetFlow for what happens in your network. So, I am from Italy. I'm doing this job from some years. I am a proud member of M6 and a lot of things. I am from Tuscany, here. But before my experience, I am a MikroTik enthusiast. And more than that, a MikroTik evangelist. So I am proud to talk to the world about MikroTik stuff. My last adventure is that since this year, the Routing and Wireless Academy, it's a non-profit organization for high-quality training partners. Just a small advertising time. My friend Henry Cox from Australia booked it too late this month, so the presentation slots was already full. I promised him to quick advertise his fantastic products, and obviously for free. It's a friend. It's Bright Wi-Fi. It's a solution for managing hotspot in the cloud. It's a very, very nice product with all customization, features, social logins, all networks, and have a desk there in the exhibition. It's a nice guy to have a talk with without buying nothing. So, I'm dedicated to Massimo Passerini this presentation, like the others, because he was my friend, was a trainer, was not anymore with us, and this is a way to bring him with me at any moment. Let's start to the real presentation. The traffic of your network. It's a black slide. The traffic of your network is one of the most important things that you should know about it. What do you know about it? What is the growth of your customer traffic versus Netflix, for example? You know that? Who know here how much is the traffic versus Netflix, just for example, maybe Facebook, Google, anything else, peer-to-peer. And in other case, what are the top AS you should peer with? If you are peering like a hell with No Tomorrow, like me, you should choose the right AS and AS number to peer with. You have to peer with AS number. You are exchanging the most of your traffic. It's obvious, but no one measure this traffic before start to peer. Other things that you can know is the top bandwidth drawer. Who is using the bandwidth in my network? I have to show you with my presentation that with few tools and with few expenses in some case, you can know more than you can imagine. And I'm talking about the NetFlow. How many people are using here NetFlow? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Few. Maybe 30%, not more. Very few. It's a bad thing. After my presentation, I hope that everyone start to use the NetFlow. NetFlow impels. It's a common router features. We'll call it IP traffic statistics. Later, we'll export them to a NetFlow collector. It's a different device. And they are called flow records. The format is template-based since the version 9, because they are many versions, version 1, version 5, 7, 8, 9, and now the 10. Since the version 9, it's template-based, so it's expandable for the future without changing the standard. Yes, NetFlow RouterOS is supported, and yes, I have my pointer. Is supported. It's called traffic flow in RouterOS because NetFlow, it's a Cisco naming. but it's a standard. He's living there. He lives in IP traffic flow in RouterOS. Exists since RouterOS version 2.9. Today, it supports the versions of NetFlow 1, 5, and 9. Check the wiki for the difference between the standards. I don't want to copy and paste the wiki here. How work? You have a router. Any router should be a public router, a private, an office, an house, anything. It's just a router that is exchanging the flow between interfaces. In this example, the common one, from WAN to LAN, and vice versa. The traffic flow will export the flows that I'll tell you later, versus a NetFlow collector. And I wrote and analyzer because exist two systems, the collectors and the analyzers. Usually they are both at the same time in one product, but they can be different. And a client that you will use to watch the data. You can obtain the same results using devices, smart devices for deep packet inspection, but usually they are expensive hardware appliance. And the traffic flow, it's included in RouterOS, and it's free. In the map light also, in any RouterOS device, you can use the NetFlow or traffic flow in RouterOS. What you need, two ingredients. You need the flows, and the collector and or an analyzer. Yes, and the router that already have. Up RouterOS version 6, the traffic flow have a limitation. Will export only the traffic, received in an interface. After that, we'll export now both traffic, received and transmitted. Currently, there is a lack in RouterOS implementation, does not export BGP AS number. I hope they will implement soon this feature, but as I show you later, there is different way to see that. Now, the boring part, the technical part, but very, very short. I hate to tell you a lot of technical things, but I have to tell you how work the NetFlow. This is a protocol, and the records are exported from the router to the collector using the UDP. The standard port is 2055, but can be user-defined, so you can change it with any preference. And remember that the router does not keep any track of flow that already exported. When send a NetFlow to a collector, will trash the records. So you can't recover them. For example, if you lose communication on the packet that is UDP, and can be lost, of course, you will lose this amount of traffic. That's it. The important thing is that NetFlow does not export payloads, just export the traffic data, source and destination port, type of data, other things that I'll show you later, but everything without the content of the communication. And the content is not encrypted, so if you want to make sure that in the case the collector is remote, you have to encrypt them if you can, of course. The structure of the version 9 of the NetFlow is a packet header, here. The template is template-based, remember, so we'll say how will be structured the records. And then the records, 10 templates and records, all the day. It's a boring job. In the header, you will find the version number of the NetFlow, 1, 5, 7, 8, 9, router OS 5, 1, 5, and 9, nothing else. The sequence number, the timestamp, and the number of the records for the two versions, or a list of the template records in version 9. The template format is composed with an ID, a length, file, the count, and then all that find type and length, type and length, type and length. It's just a template. And then the files. What will export? This is just a synthetic exhibition of what he exports. A lot of things that you can find in any flow that your router will send to a collectors. It's amazing. Anything. Interface name, interface description. So if your router have the Ethernet aid call as WAN, you will find the description WAN. Protocol version, IPv6, IPv4, flags, anything. And this one, forwarding status that you will find on Google, in some place, that exists in a lot of subcode. So what was did with this packet by the router? Discard, forwarded, a lot of things. So, going inside, I am curious, so I dump a traffic from a router versus my NetFlow collector, and this is a packet. This is a flow, an export. We can see what? The version 9, count 20, so we'll send 20 templates. The system uptime, the timestamp, that it's very, very important. The flow sequence, because the router will export a sequence of the flow, and, the flow set. In this case, I have a flow set, 1, that contains 20 flows. Now I will open for you a flow set. I click on the flow set, and in the flow set 1, 20 flows, I will find 20 different flows. Up 20. In this example, I copy and paste in just one screen for this purpose of the slide. And the flow. Opening the flow, and there are 20 flows inside this one. The flow duration, how many packets, input, source address, destination, protocol, port, source, destination, next scope, it's a gateway, it's a BGP router in this example. Netmask, MAC addresses, and a lot of things. This is a full flow that contains this information. So, the traffic flow will export almost everything of the traffic to a router except the effective payload, without payload. So each flow represents a summary of each connection, including IP addresses, port, packets, bytes, but does not include the packet contents. How to set up a router OS? IP traffic flow, you have to enable to select the interfaces, and more than one, maybe all, the cache entries, that is very important parameters, because the NetFlow will collect a traffic and will send usually when finished. So he has to collect a traffic that's flowing. With the cache, you are telling your router how many data you will obtain in memory. And I'll show you later how to set up these parameters. The timeout is the maximum lifetime of a flow, and the inactive flow timeout, it's an idle time to declare a flow finish. Yesterday, my colleague Wagner Maia from Brazil showed you NetFlow implementation for mitigating the DOS attack, and told you to set up a very, very short timeout, because for every application there is a setting. There doesn't exist universal settings. And here we have two more things to check, sorry. We have the targets and the status, and nothing else. Targets. Clicking on targets, I have all the targets that are my NetFlow collector or analyzer. As you see, you can add more than one, because maybe you have more than one collector for doing more than one jobs. One for statistics, one for attacks, one for anything else. For each one, you can set up the IP addresses. Sorry, here. IP addresses. And, sorry. Here. IP addresses. The port for each server differently, and the version that can be different for each NetFlow collector. When you have to add the one, you can set up the port, the version, the IP address, the template refresh, how many packets will include into the templates, and the templates timeout. This status is very important because here you can check the finish flow, and the active flow. This number should be less than the cache entries. In my router, I set up 4 meg, because by default it's just a few kilo, and if the flow go over, will stop at the maximum cache entries and does not feed any more flows to the collector. So you have to adjust with your traffic the cache size. How much resource will take the flows? There is not an exact formula to calculate the exported flows, because you will be worried that you are exporting all the traffic. Imagine 10 gig of traffic. How much be my NetFlow traffic? Very, very few, because does not exist a rules, but exist rules of thumb. The rules of thumb is the 0.5% of the traffic. It's less than the 1%. I show you here, in my real example, I have a router doing 300 megabits in download and 40 megabits in upload, so are 340 megabits, with active 2,000 sessions, sorry, here, and the flow measured with the torch are less than 1 megabit. Here. Sorry for too low. Yes. It's less than 1 megabit against 340 megs of real traffic. So it's very, very few traffic that export, because, remember, it does not contain the content of the packet. Now, the very interesting part of the presentation, because NetFlow is boring, is technical things that you can activate in RudderOS, but you need a collector. A collector will collect the flows exported, and an analyzer that will analyze this data for showing things that you need. Exists a lot of collectors and analyzers, open source, closed source, free, paid, for Windows, Linux, on cloud. It's a huge market for this. And each product is usually specialized in just for showing such things that you need. These are the top brands that exist on the market, like OnTop, Managing in NetFlow Analyzer, the PRTG, the Colasoft Scrutinizer. It's a very interesting one for detecting attacks. They are not free, sorry. And the Polygraph, that is a cloud-hosted system. my slide will be downloadable from the MikroTik website. So which one? I'm not a seller. I'm not selling any of them. I just choose one just for showing you what you can see using NetFlow. Just an example. You can try a lot of software, usually for free, and then I choose one. I choose a Polygraph because it's cloud hosted, it's easy to set up, and the traffic is few, just 1 megabit in my example case, so it's not too much. What I can see, this is the part of this training. Bandwidth, application, identity for domains, top talkers, geolocation, attack detection, and since router OS 633, also the fast path, like told you yesterday, Yanis Megas. Okay, I have now a pseudo live demo, should be readable, yes, it's readable, of the Polygraph. In this software, you can use cross-selection because you need to identify some traffic you're looking for. In this case, I have to, sorry, the batteries maybe. In this case, you can select the interfaces that you are going traffic. You can query a time period, the application that you want to see, the unit of measure, and if you are looking for application, for protocols, for anomalies, a lot of things. And you can use this cross menu together. You can mix the query. And at the end of the page, there is here, you can select, from the timeline, a period, a small window of time that you need to watch into. In this example, I'm just watching the web traffic, the total traffic, with a diagram. Is 300 megabit. It's encrypted, 10%. Peer-to-peer, just 10%. So I don't have to be worried about my customers. And the rest is, the www is 70%. We have a legend here that I will go deeper now with all the type of traffic, file transfer, DNS, instant messaging, but it's just a summary. And here, you can see the traffic with the colors of the legend. And it's in this software, it's a reactive interface. So if you are going to select a place will evidence a traffic, you can go clicking in drill mode, you can go inside to watching details. I clicked on www, and I'm seeing now, where is my mouse? Here. So the traffic is to Google, to Facebook, and Akamai in percent, So you can measure exactly in a time window that you can select the traffic that you are exchanging to. This is the function of an analyzer that analyzes this data that was collected by the NetFlow and interpreted and related to for what you are looking for. Now, if I roll over to Google, for example, clicking here, I can obtain the traffic, 40 megabits. So on my 200 megabits of www traffic, 40 megabits are to google.com. And maybe I have to peer with them. Now, if I click to protocols and application, you can select to see, this is a dual tree menu, and I stamp the full version in the next slide. You can check all the traffic you are interested into. I printed, for example, clicking on streaming, maybe on streaming TV services, we can see streaming TV services. How much? 37%. With Flash, Netflix, RTP, MPEG, and this is the traffic that you can zoom in the time you selected. You can go deep, showing just, for example, just one. In this case, I'm watching for encrypted services. Encrypted services, so you can see SSL, SSH, IPsec, HTTP, GRE, PPTP, IPNP. You can just watch one of these. And in this case, clicking, I see that I have peer-to-peer 31 megabits. I clicked on peer-to-peer protocols. He can measure BitTorrent and there's other. And I see in my case that BitTorrent is this traffic. But it's not too much. It's just 20 megabits. It's very, very few. These are, in this software, the things that you can watch into. You can select them. In this example, we have the voice and video protocols, streaming and peer-to-peer, the mail. The classification in each software is based on a system that uses heuristic softwares to detect the pattern and the kind of the traffic. NetFlow just exports the traffic and nothing else. Services, instant messaging, games, file sharing, encrypted, tunnels, file transfer, direct download. DNS, it's curious because you can measure, using the DNS, I click it twice. Okay, using DNS, you can watch which DNS are you using, your customer, maybe, and the protocols. For example, now I switch it to the protocol on the left view, here, the protocol. And I see that just the 50% is UDP and the rest is TCP. And I can watch the application by protocol. I can mix my query. This is protocols and DNS application. So I'm watching the traffic that I have, the UDP DNS that is the standard client query to the server, but I have also a TCP that it's used by zone transfer between DNS servers. So someone have a DNS running inside this network. And you can discover that. Top in traffic, you can see the most hosts doing traffic, top addresses, top ports, protocols. Top AS is here, top autonomous system. I told you that RouterOS does not export AS number in the traffic flow, but this software resolves the IP addresses in AS number. So in this software, it's just a case, of course, can detect all the AS number you are exchanging traffic. Another example is a geolocation. For example, you can see the traffic into the world, and you can click into the map, you can zoom, and here in Mountain View, that maybe is Google, we are exchanging 46 megabits. You can also make reports, watch, and export the store flows, and you can query all the records into the flow. So if you're looking for something strange, you can zoom in, watching the flows, the records exported from your router. This example is a security feature that is not a specialization of this software. There are a lot of more expensive software specialized in security issue. In this case, can detect the pattern. For example, he detects an horizontal scan, application layer violation, port 22, TCP, UDP, traffic, how many megabits, maybe the DOS attack and anything else. But my contents will stop here because will be a dedicated presentation this evening about the security implementation of the NetFlow. So with the traffic flow and the NetFlow analyzer, you can know what happened into your network, the kind of traffic exchanged by your customer. And from this privileged point of view, you can manage, plan, and prevent the things that happen into your network. I hope you will deploy soon your privileged point of observation. And that's it. My slide is finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Do we have questions? Yes, we have.
Thank you. Thank you for an interesting presentation. Just a question. Which is the impact on the CPU where you enable NetFlow process? Is it process intensive on the CPU?
Thank you for the question. No, it's not so intensive. Obviously, usually in the real things, you will export the traffic flow with the router that are exchanging traffic and they have CPU. It's not my MapLight favorite one. And in routers like CCR, RB1000, and others that I tried, the impact is near zero because you have just to export the traffic without the content. Yes, it's an operation, but it's not CPU intensive.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? We have.
Is there any open source software available to analyze NetFlow packets?
Yes, there are a lot of open source systems also. But so NetFlow is used, by the way, in two main things. One is to watch inside the traffic, and the other is for security purpose. For watching the traffic, a lot of software you can find in GitHub also, for free, for Linux, for anything, any platform. But the most specialized software for doing research